Okay, everybody hears me? Okay. Well, my name is Aleksandar Stoisavljević, and I'm coming from Novi Sad, Levi 9 company. I'm more than 12 years in IT business. Started with one small company in Novi Sad dealing with the Win32 applications, Delphi, whoever knows about Delphi anymore. And joined Levi 9 in 2007. Since then, I'm working for them. So, a bit about company. We are a Dutch-based company. Our headquarters are in Netherlands. We have operations in 3 countries: Ukraine, Romania, and Serbia. In Ukraine, delivery center is Kiev. In Romania, we are operating from delivery center Jaši, and in Serbia, we have the biggest delivery center with the most people, Novi Sad, close to 350. In total, we have close to 650 people in whole company. Recently, last year, we opened the Zrenjanin, and this year we are hoping that we will open the Belgrade office as well. This is the Levi 9 office building in Novi Sad, and that's about it, about the marketing story before talk. So, this presentation is more aimed for architects, people who are in a position to do the start project from scratch. So, please raise the hands who are the architects here. Okay, great. How about the team leaders, the most senior people? Okay. Well, and the last question, I won't bother you anymore. If you're in a position to start the project from scratch, who of you will choose this kind of entire architecture? Okay? Yeah, don't be shy. It's a good architecture. They taught us about that architecture in the university days. It's a proven architecture, and I won't dispute anything about that. What I'm about to do is to challenge you today. I want you to move from your comfort zone and to think differently. Okay. So, agenda for today is I will give some brief explanation what CQRS is, the theory about CQRS. I will try to do at least 2 demos, one for sure, and the second we'll have to check whether we will have time. And at the end, some words of wisdom, and of course, questions and answers. Okay, so CQRS in theory, and I don't mean cars. So when I first started to think about, actually investigating about the CQRS, I entered this in Google. I believe that most of you do the same stuff when you're encountering something new. And Google offered me to say, okay, did you mean cars? Of course, I didn't mean cars. But at that moment, that gave me a good point how I'm going to present, how I'm going to organize this presentation. So it's going to be about cars. Actually, no. When we're starting the project, we're facing first functional requirements. I mean, client comes at us and saying, okay, this is, I want to have a user, I want to have the login form. If it's some kind of a web shop, I want to be able to search through catalog, I want to place the order, I want to do payment and stuff. Those are the well-known functional requirements. But again, there are the non-functional requirements like security, accessibility, and scalability in speaking about the cloud infrastructure itself. But today I'm going to speak about what I think that the most important non-functional requirement is performance. Performance, well, actually humans can easily detect if something is performant, right? If I present you this image, you surely can see that this car is going fast. On the other hand, if I show you this image, yeah, it's Yugo for those that are not non-Balkans state. It's a proud product of our ex-Yugoslavia automotive industry. Okay, so what's next? So then I started thinking about, okay, what are the progress, and now switching to the IT industry. So clearly, yeah, back in 70s we had this, this is the iMac something, right? And this is the maybe first PC. You see that disk slots there, and in 2015 you have the smartphones and nice design, a lot of power, a lot of process power, a lot of RAM and stuff like that. And then I started investigating what was the architecture back in 70s. And where are we with architecture in 2016? Same old, same old. Okay. So how we are actually making this architecture performant? Actually, we're doing something like this, more or less. So speaking from the bottom to up, if you looking at the persistence layer, if you're using some kind of ORM tool like Hibernate, you can have the query cache. You can have the second level cache, and you can have the query cache on the database level. On the business logic layer, you can have the caching on the method invocation. You can have more worker pools and stuff like that. If you're going to support a lot of traffic, you will have to horizontally scale this kind of application. Then you have different kind of problems like session replication and web cache. Yeah, that's all what we do if we are going to make this architecture more performant. But what in case that this project lasts for, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 more years? Then people are changing on the project, and each time you get new architect, somehow the architect has that divine influence from God, and their layer will solve any problem in your application, and you end up like having the names of the layers by architects. Of course, it's a joke, but actually what we're doing, we are making a monster of our application, right? We are making this wooden spoilers, side skirts, and stuff like that. So, what about CQRS? CQRS actually stands for, it's abbreviation for the Command Query Responsibility Segregation. It's an acronym. So, at the bottom, this is the idea. You can have different paths when you are accessing your system. And let's say author of this definition is Bertrand Meyer. It's a French professor who is actually inventor of the Eiffel programming language. Recently, well, not very recently, but in the last couple of years when I start looking at CQRS, 2 other names are emerging that actually stands for the CQRS. One is the well-known Martin Fowler. I hope at least someone in this room heard about him. And the other one is Craig Young. At the end, there will be links to those resources. But I actually don't like these hard to read definitions, so I'm more like an image guy. So this is CQRS. Looking from the client's perspective, if you have clearly distinguished mark between commands that you're issuing to your system, and you have other path that queries your system, you're doing CQRS, and that CQRS is all about. That gray arrow is not about CQRS. It's how you are going to synchronize your system. But let's leave it for now. Okay, so I mentioned commands, queries. So commands, let's look for some characteristics of commands. Command is actually a message to change the state of the application. Message should be handled by the command handler. Does not return anything or returns void, nothing. And describes business intent. Of course, must be immutable. So once command is created, you can't change the command. Otherwise, it loses its purpose. For the query part, queries are intended to fetch the state from the data store. Okay, query characteristics. It will read the state from the data stores, always has return value, and does not change the state. And I mean never. Okay. Before jumping to the demo, I will need to tell you about event sourcing. So briefly, I don't want to take more of your attention about the putting the light away from the CQRS. So about event sourcing, and why is that? Why I need to tell you about event sourcing here is that when you leave the presentation and start investigating CQRS by yourselves, you will find a lot of resources combining three terms. One is CQRS, the second one is event sourcing, and the third is domain-driven design. In order to show you the demo, you will have to know a bit of event sourcing, but domain-driven design, I will skip it for now, and I will kindly ask Branko to call me to Rovinj at May, so to talk about the domain-driven design. So a bit of event sourcing, and I will tell you the story from the trench. So how I'm going to do best present you what event sourcing is. So for today's demo, I've prepared some imaginary web shop that will be able to keep the inventory of smartphones. So basically, this is the model of database model of my system. So I have the manufacturer, I have the phone module. Of course, each phone module has his own manufacturer, and I have inventory. So if I'm about to save the inventory, or actually the stock unit, I can do this. I can just do like this. But then someone calls me and say, okay, for phone model ID, I don't have 11, I have 5. And how I know if I'm right or he's right? So now we are in dispute. I don't have proof to tell him that I have 11, nor does he have the proof that there should be 5. So instead of saving the state, we should save the delta. So actually, we are going to save the events. So it's much better, because each event that happens needs to be captured. And you see, for each row, so for example, on phone model ID 1, I have 4, 7. Now I have actually what happened. So first, I got the inventory update by 4 phone models of the one, and phone model 1, and I have the update after that, 7. Of course, there is the time, and I can easily explain why it's there is 11. Of course, you can ask me, okay, but is it wise to have it like this, or how I'm going to easily check the state? Well, yeah, you can do simple aggregate SQL function, summing inventory update on the table invent source inventory, and group by phone model ID. And yeah, of course, definition at the end. Sorry for this. So event sourcing is that every change to the state of an application is captured in event. and then these events objects are stored in sequence as they were applied. So eventually, I will be storing each of the event that happens on the inventory update, and I can easily replay each of these events, and if I do that in that order as that definition says, I can easily restore my state. So that's it. Going to the demo, but before demo, demo is actually, this is high-level architecture. So this demo will sum of all talks today, not intentionally, by accident. So each of my services are Spring Framework, Spring Boot applications. So remember the opening opening presentation by Nicholas Frankel. Then there is Discovery Service, and you all, I guess, were present on the talk by, the colleague that presented that. And yeah, at the end, last presenter spoke about Docker. So each of my microservices are Dockerized and deployed like that. So what I have here is that I have the Spring configuration server. I have Discovery Service, that's the Eureka. I have two modules. One is the phone module that actually should be called the catalog because it stores the information about the manufacturers and models. Then there is the inventory, and of course we will need some nice looking UI to show that. Okay, just to present the application. Okay, so speaking about the Eureka, you saw at least a bit of it. So as I said, we have 3 microservices. We have the inventory module, we have the phone module, and the UI. About the application. So yeah, Bootstrap server-side time-leaf application. Let me just show you what I've prepared. So if I log in as a regular user, if I have the phones list, and for example, if I want to see what is status of the Samsung Galaxy A7, before the demo, I resetted all the counters just in order to show you the real example of the CQRS. So inventory is 0, so all the phones are 0. So if I'm going to log in as the admin, I got the update tab, and then there I can just, let's say, Samsung, for example, Galaxy F3, and if I want to increase by 10, update inventory. Let's see if it's updated. Yes, and let's see in the MySQL. Let's see how it looks like. What I've spoke about the catching event state. So I have one inventory update. I've updated model with ID 1, and I've entered the 10. So for the query side, I have the inventory, and phone model ID has the stock 10. So I will just skip it to the part. Okay, so I don't want to populate all the inventory by myself, so I've prepared the JMeter script for that, and hopefully it will work. So I have up to 100 threads that will the test case will last for 2 minutes. In the meantime, I will brief you through the code. So what it actually is doing, this request is actually by random updating the phone model ID and issuing the amount of the updates per model. And yeah, let's see if it's running. Sorry, just a moment. Okay, it's green. It's good. And same time, let's see. I'll speak about the implementation. So behind the curtains, there is of course, message queue. This is the event bus, and I will speak a bit later, but I just wanted to check whether it's working. So it's working, and I will get back to it later. So this is the application. As I said, Spring Boot application. I'm using the Gradle as the build tool. And I'm sorry. Moments before I switch to the code, I want to also. Where am I now? Okay. I want to give you what will happen to better to understand where I will be guiding you through the code. So we have again endpoint. This could be the UI or presentation, but in my case it's a CQRS Jersey implementation. So I have that the inventory module is the REST application. On the endpoint, it will receive that DTO that you saw from the JMeter. It will transform that DTO to command, put it asynchronously. That's the important thing that I missed to say. It works asynchronously. It will put that command on the internal bus. It's a called command bus, and then if you remember the characteristics of the command path, that there is the command handler. Command handler will do with that command whatever it needs, but actually it will transform it and push it on the event bus. On the other hand, we have the bottom brick there. That's the event handler, and event handler will listens for the events on the message bus, and will do whatever it needs to do. So basically, that's what's happening in the background. So let's start with so Spring Boot application, right? I have the Eureka because I need to register my service. Most interesting, of course, endpoint. So I have the listening for the updates, handling update inventory. Just simple check if everything is satisfied. If it's satisfied, then that command should be created. Hopefully, you see it. Okay, and this is most important stuff is that when you're doing CQRS, you're doing asynchronously. So that's what performance comes from. The response from this kind of systems are that message is acknowledged. What I will be doing with that message, that's not your stuff. You will subscribe to the event bus and listens for the events that I will be throwing from my application. That's the way how it works. So basically, you send me the request. I say okay. If everything is okay, then I will just receive that message and say okay, message received, and that's it. You don't know what will happen, but you have to listen to events on the event bus to see whether your message is passing okay through the system. Okay, so that's endpoint for receiving the message. And what's most important, why I did this in the XML, I think that's easily to see. On the other hand, I could use the annotation. So it's a Spring Framework integration part. So I have the inventory gateway. Actually, it will put the commands on the command bus. Then there is the inventory command handler service activator. It will listen for the messages on this command channel, commands on the command channel. After that, there is the inventory update event channel. And of course, error channel if something is wrong. And yeah, this is the funny part. I mean, this is the structure part. So I'm using, you could use anything that you are most familiar with, but I'm using the RabbitMQ as the MQP provider, implementation of MQP protocol, and just to show you, so I have Dockerized all the services, and I have the service discovery. I have the RabbitMQ Dockerized. I have the service discovery Dockerized, server configuration, phone module, inventory module, and Evidencia UI, like I said. So, and at the end, there is the processing event part. So this event will, inbound channel adapter will listen for any message that is coming on the event bus, and again, another service activator that will update the query part. And yeah, sorry for, I must jump into the, let's see how it behaves. Response over time, after some time of stabilization. Graph is not perfect. I've been getting better, but let's see, aggregate report, average for 180 milliseconds per request. Okay. Forgive me that I will just pass through the Exxon, because 30 minutes is a really little time. About the Exxon, then after I've investigated the Spring framework and integration and how I'm going to do this by the CQRS, I've encountered the framework, Java framework, that is supported by this guy, Allard Buize, and the Axon framework is currently at the 2.4.3 version, and they are recently announcing that they are working on 3.0, so pretty stable framework. You can easily see that there is components that I had to make myself using the Spring integration. Here you have the ability to use the components that is already coded. So just briefly, I don't want to miss anything. So okay, so this is by using Exxon. Again, Spring Boot application, Exxon config, configuration class. You have the beans like a command bus, you have the event bus. Command bus is interface, and there are a lot of there are at least 3 implementations right away. So there is the simple command bus, there is the asynchronous command bus. If you need to scale your application even on the command bus, there is the disruptor command bus and stuff like that. So worth of checking. Okay. That would be the demo time. And are you doing CQRS? So another story from Trench. In 2010, I was working for the largest dating site of the Netherlands. That's relatieplanet.nl, and you can imagine that there are a lot of there are disbalance between the number of write requests to the those requests that query the state. Actually, you can imagine that I'm creating my profile once in a lifetime, and then I'm just issuing the query asking, okay, is there any other profile that are matching my search criteria, etc., etc. So we end up something like this. We had to provide the master database MySQL server, and we have a lot of replicas there. And yeah, if you're doing something like this, you're doing CQRS. I mean, CQRS is about that. Benefits, drawbacks. If you're doing event source architecture, you have to do kind of CQRS. There is clear separation of concerns, simpler to maintain. support multiple denormalized views. What I've missed to say here is that you can your query model you can model your query to respond needs to respond to need of the people who are issuing the query requests. There is improved scalability and performance. Again, you can easily scale. Drawbacks, complexity, yeah. Potential code duplication, yeah. Why the code duplication? Well, each of these events has to pass the same information. Commands have the same information. Events has the same information, and stuff like that. So, eventually, consistently system. That's also important. So. And that's it about CQRS. Resources, there is already sent to organizers the complete stack, this presentation, and time for questions. You are asking yourselves why these 3 mugs in order to boost, encourage you. So ask the questions, 3 questions, 3 mugs. Yeah, shoot. Okay. And I can see that it has something like a service discovery. Yep. Does it mean that you are running a token and it's on demand? So if the cost is high, you raise another token to pay for it. It could be the case, but currently I just use that as the to dockerize in order to prevent that something awfully happened at the demo. So, yeah, satisfies you? Okay? Okay, 2 more mugs, 2 more questions, quickly. Or, shoot. Well, events is, let's say, you will depending on is actually depending on what you will store at the query part. So whatever you need there, it's much easy to pass that information through commands, then to event bus, and then to event handler to handle that kind of information. Otherwise, your event handler will interfere the command part. Well, you're not storing the command. You're storing the information coming along with command. Let's say this. Okay, one more mug, one more question. No? Okay, so then who first raised the hand? Okay, that nice lady there. Okay, thank you. And if you need to contact me, I will be here by tomorrow morning. I'm enjoying Zagreb for the first time, so